The all-time classic dry vermouth. Noilly Prat is what we will be drinking today. All about the French joie de vivre, all about aperitif, all about the joy of life, the French way. Welcome to Bespoke Unit, and pour yourselves a glass. Hello and welcome to another review here at Bespoke Unit. It's not a cigar review, not a spirits review, but actually a wine, or to be precise, a vermouth review. And it's not just any vermouth, but the quintessential dry vermouth, Noilly Prat. Going back quite a long time in history to the late 18th century, when a French merchant out of the Lyon area started to experiment with the various wines, spirits, and botanicals that he had at hand at his shop. And this Mr. Noilly then created the process, fine-tweaked it and evolved it into what ultimately culminated in the creation of the 1813 recipe, which is proudly stated here on the label as well, of Noilly Prat. The company, as we now know it, was then started in the 1850s, and actually today, Noilly Prat is a subsidiary of the Bacardi Martini Spirits conglomerate. It is, as I said, the typical dry vermouth. So whether you're pouring yourselves a dry martini cocktail or whether you want to use it in cooking, Noilly Prat is most often your go-to dry vermouth, and rightfully so. A superbly complex combination of Picpoul and Clairette wines that are typical for the region around Marseillan, where Noilly Prat comes from. It's then mixed with a so-called Mistelle, which is a mixture of grape sweetness and high-proof alcohol, and the various different botanicals for the, of course, secret recipe of this vermouth. The base wines are stored in l'enclos, which is an outside area aroundside the production facilities. And so the wines are left outside for more than 12 months in order to slightly oxidize, take on some of the maritime sort of salty characters from the sea close by. And that makes for the color and also for the typical depth and complexity as the underlying foundation for what later on then becomes this delicious composition and the delicious blend of the various different roots, herbs, barks, and spices together with the alcohol and the wines. Let's get right to the tasting. When it comes to the look and feel, this is rather dark, golden, stray golden yellow with a little bit of a viscosity, not too much, it's not very thick or oily in the glass. Yes, there's sugar added to this as well, but it's not a very thick and oily sort of sensation around the glass rim here, as you would have with a high-proof alcohol like your single malt scotch, cognac, or Armagnac, for example. When it comes to the smell and taste, a gorgeous, lovely floral burst. First, I get some chamomile right away. I get a little bit of a spicy paprika, a green, funky, very interesting whiff on top of the glass right here. A little bit of white pepper, lovage, and sorrel, as well as bay leaf. The vermouth at the beginning is not super obvious. It's not like with Martini Dry Vermouth, for example, where the wormwood is much more present in the nose with a cucumber-esque or sort of pickled gherkin sensation. It's a little more subdued here with the Noilly Prat, but it's got way more complexity and depth. So it's not just that fresh, green, winey note up front, but really the deep, luscious, full-bodied, winey nuance that comes around. A little bit of caramel. For me, it's like a floral honey note. And then in the very back, some more of citrus peels, bitter orange, a little bit of pink grapefruit, as well as Buddha's hand citrus, some more thyme, and oregano in the nose for me. Let's give it a sip. Fresh, lively, a blast of mellow, floral, honey, sprinkle of thyme on top, even rosemary is there. Again, that beautiful combination of sweet chamomile, a more ethereal, citrusy nuance, and then finally the wormwood kicks in, gives you some of that bitterness that will carry the entire sensation to a very long finish, a long aftertaste. And it beautifully encompasses sort of all the complexity and the harmony that is present with the Noilly Prat here. The Dry Vermouth is actually 18% volume alcohol. You get quite a bit of rancio, maturation, and oxidation in the nose as well as on the palate, but it's not overpowering, and the wine never loses its freshness, its primary fruit characteristics, but it's just sort of the underlying foundation and the depth and the richness that will make for the overall complexity of this intriguing sip. Beautiful evolution on the palate, the beginning, fruitiness, primary fruit, and the floral freshness. In the middle, the bitterness kicks in with some of the white pepper, with some of that green bell pepper. And towards the very back then, there is the prolonged rancio, bitter quality and the character that carries everything into the finish. This is a stunning sip all by itself. I mean, very few people probably drink Noilly Prat as it is right here, but it makes for a gorgeous wine, whether it's for pairing with your meals or just as a soloist. You could definitely sip this and have this, enjoy it all by itself, but it goes beautifully well for all your preferred dishes once you're cooking. And obviously it's a must-have for all the bar freaks and all the cocktail enthusiasts out there, because it is your go-to dry vermouth point. A dry martini cocktail obviously is the uber classic for that, but you could just pour it as a long drink with a little bit of bitter lemon, ginger ale, or tonic water over ice. Obviously, when you try to combine this with food, either some blanched almonds or just raw walnuts will go beautifully with that. If you have an opportunity, go to Marseillan, check it out, visit the production facilities from Noilly Prat, and then definitely grab some fresh oysters because it's the perfect region. So that combination of fresh oysters and Noilly Prat is a match made in heaven. I also love to enjoy certain cigars with the Noilly Prat because it brings you some sweetness. It brings you a very elegant mineral quality. It gives you a little bit of bitterness and freshness, so it sort of keeps your palate engaged in a beautiful way. Thus, it sits proudly and nicely along a, I would say, elegant, medium-bodied smoke from the Dominican Republic. In my case, I just enjoyed a beautiful La Galera from Moji Blanco in a Churchill format. What else can be said? The packaging is very unique, very distinct. It's a slim, very long liter bottle that people are mostly acquainted with. That typical green color. It's fresh, it's vibrant, it's got some beautiful golden little elements here on the bottle. It proudly states the company name as well as the date. Other than that, since it's a very affordable bottle, it's not uber fancy or glamorous, or you don't need like a decanter shaped bottle or some fancy packaging to go with it. Most people would just grab that off the shelf and use it right away in the kitchen behind the bar or to pour it neat. I can just recommend give it a try in a wine glass, as I have right here. Sample it neat first. As I said, for some people, it's probably a little counterintuitive because they're just used to pour it into the pan to deglaze or pour it into the cocktails. But Noilly Prat, as an excellent, very complex wine, is definitely worth trying as a soloist. So, cheers to you. Pour yourselves a glass. I'll see you next time here at Bespoke Unit for another review. Until then, with my very best wishes and spirits.